Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About Show. I'm, of course, your host, Dylan Strickland, and today let's talk about Spiral from the Book of Saul. Joining me once again is, of course, Kirby Talesky. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay.
Good, Kirby, good.
Fuck off.
uh, Also joining me well, I've got a show full of best friends today, as my other best friend, horror TikToker Andrew Mueller, is on. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm good. How are you?
And another best friend of mine, a horror enthusiast, Katie Mark, is on with us today. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm swell.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I'm just going to break down how the show is going to go for you today, guys. We are going to be breaking down our favorite moments and kind of just an overall view of the first four Saw films. And then we are going to break down the last four Saw films that came out before this one, of course. And then we will get into Spiral from the Book of Saul. If you'd like to skip to any of these, they will be time-stamped in the description down below. So view at your own discretion. Starting off with Kirby, what are your favorite / least favorite moments of the first four Saw films?
In my opinion, the first one's the best one out of any of them, just because it's simple. It's not a gore fest. It's got a plot that it accomplishes, and it's got somewhat well-known actors. I think the most well-known actor in the first one is Danny Glover. Uh, and
Yeah, that was
then,
surprising. I forgot he was in it.
yeah, and then I guess the other two is John Kramer himself, and then the blonde-headed dude. I can't remember his name right now.
Gary
He's in
Ellis.
like all the
Yes.
indie shit.
Yep. I like the first one a lot. All the other Saw films, they're convoluted. They just made them for gore fest and because they could. They're not bad, but they're not good.
Absolute slander. I can't
It,
believe
I,
these
d-
things.
I mean, the first one, it's I don't want to say it's iconic, but it's simple, right? It's two guys trapped in a bathroom warehouse, and
Yeah.
then they play the tape and they find out the clues, and the one guy cuts off his own foot and the other guy just stays there. And the first one's good. The other ones are bad. I mean, I'm not a fan of them. I haven't watched them in a while. I watched like a recap video before this, and I forgot how bad they were. To be honest,
You don't like the low budget indie feel, like where
no, because
no? Come
no.
on.
I mean, to me, yes, I guess it is low budget indie, but they weren't going for that, so it never did it good in my opinion. If like a certain film is a indie film and it knows it's an indie film, then it does it good, or it can do it good. But Saw just doesn't, and it's
Interesting, because Katie, I believe you're on the complete opposite of the spectrum, right? You are kind of
Yeah, I
more
think
toward
one is my least favorite of the first few Saw films because I when I'm watching these movies, I like watching the traps, and there's like such a lack of gore and suspense in the first one because it was all taking place in one room and they were just like talking to each other and trying to find out their relationship. And honestly, like in these movies, that's my least favorite part of them. I definitely thought like in the first four, I think four is probably the weakest. Um, just because it loses momentum, but it also had like the hair trap in it, which I thought was really, really memorable.
yeah. Yeah, the hair. I forgot about the hair trap. Just snatch her wig. Um, what are your like? Do you have any like standout moments or standout traps?
Yeah, I'd say I love the hair trap where they like take her by the ponytail and they twist it off and then like half scalp her, but
Really?
then she's like, and then but she doesn't get fully scalped, but she still dies because you know, I mean, most of these are so similar in feel. I definitely like where they start into and they start the whole trend of having a group of people trying to like work together, and I
It's like an
definitely like.
escape room, yeah.
Yeah, I like that, and they bring that kind of feel back for like 6 and 5 and 7 and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think out of these three, I actually did like three. I'd say four is my least favorite. I liked three. I mean, of all of this, all of every single Saw movie, my favorite part of every one of them is the end where they play the final theme and then they end it at the top of the climax with no resolution. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I know. That was like it started to become like I started to feel like that was how movies are normally made. And like in between 4 and 5, I started watching like another movie, and I was like, why didn't it end before the resolution of the story? I was like, what is this falling action? I didn't understand. But Andrew, what are your, I guess I would lean more towards least favorite moments of the.
So I actually I'm not going to be as harsh as I thought I was going to be. I think that the first three Saw movies are actually pretty good. Like I enjoyed the first three. The
I
first
gotcha.
one, like Kirby said, I think is the best. I think it's really strong. I like that it feels like a crime thriller, but instead of watching it from the perspective of the cops, you're watching it from the perspective of the person who's being tortured. That's fun.
Yeah.
Um, I would say like my least favorite movie of the first four is the fourth one. I think it's just not good. And I think that the ice trap is so stupid. It's so dumb. Um,
Why,
but I would
why do
also
you
say
think
one of my
that?
least
Come on, the ice trap's so cool though.
No,
The
no,
one where he's
what
digging
cool.
like
No.
above the ice and then it like smashes his head. That one?
no.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
love
The one,
that
I'm
trap.
talking about the slowly melting ice that he's standing on top of. It's just
Yeah.
Another least favorite moment for me comes from the first movie, when it's building up all of this suspense for the trap that rips her jaw open. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this is so interesting. And then the trap starts and it's just heavy metal music and awful editing, and it ruins anything that it built up.
It's
I don't know
early
what
2000s.
I don't know what it is. What is it with and it's like a problem through like all 8 of these movies. Like the editing. Like it just
But
turns at
specifically,
certain
like
times.
2, 3, and 4, it's like gave me rabies.
It's horrible.
It's
It's so like I like the movies and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like someone shot up, like snorted a line of coke and was like, now I'm gonna edit the shit out of this film. I don't understand. It doesn't make
It's like they just learned Final Cut and they were really excited to show off how quickly they could flip through shots.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know. 4 can't be my least favorite because we get to see Jigsaw's dick in it, and I think that makes up for the entire like
Wait, what?
convoluted.
What?
It's the first shot. Like the first
It's
shot.
literally the first shot of the movie. They don't hold back. But but being serious though, I think I like 4, but I so I don't think it's like bad, but it is my least favorite. I think it's tied with 1. 1 and 4 I don't like as much. I think here's what happens. I think is watching the movies back to back and watching them release in theaters is like 2 very different things because after Saw 2, I don't think that they like hold up as like their own individual movies. And so watching it like just like watching it back to back to back to back like I was, it then becomes more of like a what's the next like chapter, if that makes sense. Rather than like what's the next film. Because as movies like by themselves, if you just watch like Saw 4 before like watching Saw 1 through 3,
You're lost.
zero idea what's going on. Like you will barely understand the plot. But I think watching them all like back to back, like I did, it's like basically one book, if that makes sense. Do you guys think
Yeah,
that's the
totally.
advantage or disadvantage of the movies? What do you guys think?
I think it's a disadvantage because okay, take for instance like the MCU, right? You can watch any single one and not be lost, or you could watch them all and it still makes complete sense. But with Saw, you have to watch it from the beginning and all the way through. You can't sit down and saying, "All right, hey, I want to watch Saw 5 just for the hell of it."
I mean, you could. You probably could yourself.
That'd be a very bad decision. But
Another negative of the way, like the fact that they're all so interconnected in the way that they are, is that they spend like 20 minutes of each movie recapping what happened in
Oh,
the movie
God.
previous. And it's just like, I know, I watched this, which I understand they did because people were seeing these years apart. But it was just, oh, it's so bad to rewatch them all together.
I
also
love
like
it, man. I think it's so I think it's an advantage. I think it's so cool. I don't know what it is. The way that they're all connected and the way that they make it makes Jigsaw feel like a genius. Like honestly, it makes him feel like the smartest fucking person on the planet. And sometimes that's to the disadvantage of the movie because you'll be like, if this and this didn't work out exactly how he thought that this would work out, then the traps just would not happen. Like it would not work out at all. But everything goes according to plan for him. And I think it's funny, but I think it's also interesting because they have to remember like they remember details in 5 that were like from like Saw 2. And so the fact that it's like it almost they've done it in a way, at least I feel they've done it in a way where they've had it all scripted out from like Saw 2 to 7, if that makes sense. So
I
probably
totally
not 7 actually. Saw 2
No.
to 6 is what it really feels like. Is like they have like an overarching plan is what it kind of feels like to me, but maybe you guys disagree with that.
I felt like I feel like it was a bridge and they didn't quite know how long they wanted to extend the bridge and they kept like stacking on top of it and they're like we could build as many individual pieces to this as we want. And I mean, you kind of get the feel of like, okay, each movie ends with the exact same way. Like the main detective is killed and now we're going to have to find
Game
a new
over.
person yeah, and then we're like, oh, but subsequently, we're actually very excited because we've had another detective who's been secretly hyper focusing on this to the same level that the past 3 have, you know? And I actually did have this experience. I tried to watch this with I did try to watch Saw 5 with my boyfriend who had never seen any of the Saw movies before. And I had to keep pausing the whole time to explain it to him. And I think the feeling of like all of the interconnectedness would have been more effective if they casted with more diversity or at least actors that didn't look exactly fucking the same.
Yeah.
Because I swear to God, Mark Hoffman looks like every single like 5'6" white man with brown hair. He looks and like what is it? And Jigsaw's Jigsaw's widow,
Jill
his
Tuck.
wife, Harry or whatever.
Yeah.
And like she looks exactly like the other blonde girl. They look so much alike. So I kept getting questions of like, didn't we just see that person? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know anymore.
I think that's why I think the interconnectedness is actually why I like Saw 4 so much is because it's happening. I like that it's happening concurrently with 3. If that makes sense? Like we're following this detective as he found what's her name, Lydia or whatever, the girl who got her ribs split off.
Ugh.
Oh, we're following him like as he discovered it, but that story is happening at the same time as the story that we saw happening in 3, and then at the end they meet, and it like makes perfect sense. And I really, really like that. So I thought that was really, really cool. So I think that's why I kind of give 4 a pass where you guys don't, because you guys don't like the ice trap apparently.
So which one was it that had the guy that was trapped in the big machine? He was like arms out and legs out to where the machine was grasped, yeah, and twisting it and all that. Which one was that?
I think
I
that
can't
was
remember.
Saw 3. Saw 3 where because the guy is going through the rooms. To save each of the people that he hates.
I don't know why. I think that's my favorite trap out of all the films for some reason.
Out of all of them, wow. Okay.
I mean, it's not the most gruesome, and just because the trap's gruesome doesn't make it good, right? I mean, you can have a very non-gruesome trap and it still be one of the best traps, you know?
What about you, Andrew? Do you think you have a favorite traps or moment of the first?
I was just thinking about that. I think that one of my favorite traps, not because it was a great trap, because I thought it added to the story, was the trap that was around the neck of the surgeon who had to take care of the doctor. Like I thought the stakes that added was so much fun, and
with
it's
the shotgun.
With
the shotgun necklace or whatever.
It's why I actually enjoyed 3, because it felt like it had actual stakes. Like every character had huge stakes in the story.
What about you, Katie? Do you have a favorite trap or moment from the first 3?
From the first 4,
Sorry.
I know I said it already, but I really liked the hair trap. But honestly,
Oh, that's right.
all of my favorite traps are from 5, 6, and 7.
God.
I would say so. My favorite moment isn't a trap, actually. I think my favorite trap would probably be the one where he like gets the dude who's kind of a horrible person and like makes him strap in and poke his own eyes out, and then like his arms just, you know what I'm talking about in Saw 4. I think that's my favorite trap. But my favorite moment is in Saw 4. The way that Jigsaw's like they cut open his body and like cut open like the scene right at the beginning where it's all basically like the filter that they put on it makes it all like grayed out, and then they start cutting open Jigsaw's body and it's got like all the blood and stuff and it's like hyper red, but like the rest of the shot is grayed out. You know, you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Kind of.
They're doing like his autopsy and like they show you like him like them like cutting open his chest and like pulling open his ribs, and I was like, it was so hard to watch. I thought it was so cool. I thought the effects that they used were like amazing. I was just really freaked out. I was like, I don't like it at all, but like I liked it in the like horrible way. Let's move on to the last 4, that being Saw 5 through the last chapter, and then of course the most recent Jigsaw for this one. So how do you guys feel about these? See, this is where it kind of starts to, I think it takes a little bit of a dip in quality. Katie, how do you feel about 5 through Jigsaw?
5 through Jigsaw are my favorites. The only one I haven't seen is Jigsaw, and I'm watching that tonight because I guess I just can't get enough of these right now.
Yeah.
I like 5, 6, and 7. I think 5 is a weaker film. I think how like in my mind how it goes is like 1, 2, 3 is on an upward slope, 4 and 5 is downward, and then 6 and 7 are upward. I really like 6 and 7. I think I really love how in 6 it's all interconnected, and it's very clear to me how all of these people fit together and why he put them where they are. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I just love 7 because honestly, I think every single trap in 7 was cool as hell to me. I think and I think at the end how 7 pulls around full circle to 1. That I think 7's probably my favorite out of all of them.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
No.
My problem with 7 is I thought the intro with the dude's speech, his speech is ass.
Look, I didn't say I'm commenting on acting. I think as far as enjoyability, I think 6 or 7 are my favorites.
God, no.
I thought the intro trap was like, you know, the one where it's like a public show. And
I liked the public execution.
Choose to cut open your girlfriend or choose to cut open one of her boyfriends. It just felt kind of cheesy. I don't know. But I guess
the acting was shitty, but I did like the public execution trap.
Yeah. Okay. So your favorite out of those films is 7. Wow. Having not seen Jigsaw.
6 or 7. I really liked 6.
Yeah. Interesting. Andrew, what would you have to say? Standout film, standout moment of the last 4? Or I think you hate these 2, right? You couldn't watch.
Well, as I told you, I did not do the homework assignment, and I did not watch all of these movies because after watching 4, I started 5, I got 30 minutes into it, and then I was like, I can't. I would say that of the first 30 minutes that I saw of the last 4 movies, I think that the only moment that I was like, oh, that was so innovative was whenever he's drowning in the water cube and he like,
does a tracheotomy with a pin.
Right, does a tracheotomy on himself and then he's able to breathe. That was interesting. I just couldn't. It was, I started it, and then the only thing that was interesting were the traps, and everything else was just so boring and convoluted at this point.
Andrew, I can say you did yourself a favor not watching these last couple films.
Guys, I'm gonna have to disagree. I don't think he did himself a favor. Kirby, what did you think? Favorite?
Oh God! So it just after 1, they just kept getting worse and worse. It's so bad, and especially which one was it? What was 6 or 7, the one right before Jigsaw, whichever one that was.
That's the the final chapter.
Okay, so when in that one at the end of the movie when they brought back fucking what's his name from the first movie,
Harry
sa-
Elwes.
yes, saying that he decided
Dominic.
after he cut off his own foot that he decided to start working with Jigsaw. Get the fuck out of here! No,
He was grateful.
Oh,
No.
I loved
No,
it.
get the
I
fuck
loved
outta
it,
here.
dude. I thought it was
No.
such a nice touch.
no.
That was my
was-
favorite part.
Because I had
no,
been
it's-
wondering since Saw 1, I was like, what happened to this dude? Because they
It makes no sense. They don't even explain why. They just say,
Well,
"Oh
the
yeah,
whole
no, yeah, he just started to work for him." Don't
They do
ask
explain
why. They
he
just
learned
started
his
working
lesson
for him.
from Jigsaw.
Get the fuck out
And
of here!
Jigsaw
No,
saved his life.
Yeah, he
no,
saved his
Jigsaw
life.
literally took him back, cauterized his leg,
no,
like
no.
cleaned his wounds and rehabilitated him back to life. And
No.
like honestly, it's like the perfect encapsulation of what Jigsaw wanted the entire
If-
time is for him to
if
go
that
through the
hap-
trap and go get a new outlook on life, and that's what happened.
Plus,
no, if
then it
that
makes
happens,
sense.
that changes the entire plot of the first movie of his character arc. That just changes the entire fucking thing.
But his character arc is that he learned.
No.
Yeah.
It's that's
Well, okay,
just
you
know
think
what
about
that
it
is.
this way. He learns his lesson, and then Jigsaw saves his life, and then Jigsaw is like, listen, I could use your help. And then it actually adds up because you as you watch the Saw series, you think to yourself, how the fuck does Jigsaw know how to like sew? Like, how does he know how to like
No.
do stitches? For
No,
people?
He
it's
took
And
sewing
they
skills.
connect it. They do like little. They're like, this is why it makes sense. Is because this is the stitch here. This is the stitch here, which clearly was not planned. But I thought it made so much more sense than Jigsaw just knowing how to do everything under the rainbow.
no. You want to know what that is in that final chapter? It's just lazy fucking writing and bad writing. It's what it is. It's terrible. It's so bad. It makes no sense.
Yet
No.
I still enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it too.
No.
I think my main problem with 4 through Jigsaw is starting with 5, kind of starting with 4 a little bit, starting with 5, they go really heavy onto the like we're following detectives. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's like it just gets like this cheesy CSI vibe like in the beginning. Like once you get like past the first 30 minutes of 5 through the final chapter, it starts to pick up and it's like it turns into a Saw film, like what you were expecting to watch. But before that, the way it's shot and edited makes me feel like I'm watching a show on like ABC or something. Does that makes sense? Like it feels like TV show quality, like, and then the editing goes like fucking viral. Like it starts doing the same shit that it did in the first 4, where it goes crazy out of nowhere. And then we get into the more like Saw stuff, which I kind of really enjoy. I think my favorite out of these unfortunately, I think it's Saw. I can't tell if it's Saw 6 or 7. I think, am I the only one here who saw Jigsaw?
Oh. No, I've seen it.
You've seen it? So I think this is my least favorite, like out of all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. They have, it's like they take all the fun out of the Saw films, and then the traps are weaker, and it's kind of fun, but it's like a little more slow paced, and the traps aren't as good. Does that make sense?
What you're saying, and I don't want to spoil anything for
I'll close my
anything
ears.
big for Katie, but the entire twist at the end to where it's like the jump at the end, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's
was
not,
just
it's not
completely,
good.
it was dumb. And saying that the one guy was with him from all the way at the beginning and worked with him the entire time, it was, I hated that. And I think the only reason why they made Jigsaw was they said, all right, it's been a couple of years since we've made a Saw film. Let's revamp it, keep the same story going, but tell a different story. And they just didn't. It was a polished turd, but still
Also,
a turd.
for his trap to work out exactly the same way as Jigsaw's original trap, it makes zero sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like they have to kill the exact same people, and then the exact same people have to make the exact same decisions as the other guys, in
Yeah.
order for the trap to work out the exact same way. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, no, it's
Just very. I was like, I don't. It makes less sense than they usually were making.
bad writing.
Again, yeah, I wasn't about. Andrew, did you ever see Jigsaw?
I didn't see Jigsaw, but I think that the idea of every trap having to have a series of decisions being made exactly perfectly in order for it to work is every movie. Every single movie. Especially, it starts with like 3, where the characters have to make very specific decisions in order for anything in the plan to actually work. And if they change their mind on one thing, suddenly the whole plan falls apart.
What was the one where they were trapped in a house or something? Then they had to work together, and if they all would have worked together, they all would have came out alive. Pretty physically fucked up, but more or less alive.
It's 5 and 2.
5?
Yeah.
It's the one where at the end the guy sticks his arm in the tube, and the blade starts cutting down his arm, and he pulls out his arm, and it's like
And they have to give the blood.
and flailing. Yeah,
that's 5.
Okay, that one was just I did not like the plot of that at all.
No, but the cable decapitation trap at the beginning, where they're all like hooked up to the noose and they have to get the keys and stuff. I like that a lot.
No,
I thought that
I like that one a lot.
I like the theme of 5 is that they all could have made it if they just like instead worked together instead of pitting against each other. I like that little twist at the end. You didn't like that, Kirby?
No.
Wow, man. I thought it was kind of interesting. I will say I don't think that the dude who takes over for Jigsaw in 5 to chapter.
No.
I don't think he's as menacing as Jigsaw.
Like I don't like his face.
I don't think
I agree. Fun. I don't like looking at him.
No, he's just very fugly. He looks like he was made out of stone and very poorly. He looks like a fucking gargoyle.
He doesn't. He's like.
No, it's bad. He
does. He squints his eyes and like constantly puts his.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
I also hated that they killed Jigsaw's wife. I was really upset when I don't know why I had the personal connection to Jigsaw's wife.
Well, I thought she was a.
Oh my God, Katie.
Harsh words, all right.
Holy shit.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Is that kind of language allowed?
No.
It is now.
Absolutely not.
Here, I'll give you another phrase. You can edit it out.
I'll just bleep it.
Wow, I hated Jigsaw's wife. Actually, I thought she was a gross person.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, let's move in to, I'm sure, what all of you want to talk about. Let's move into Spiral from the Book of Saw. We'll start with Andrew. How did you feel about Spiral from the Book of Saw?
Oh my God, I have so many thoughts about it. Was easily, I went in thinking, oh man, I hate all of the Saw movies. And then I watched this and I said, maybe they weren't so bad after all.
No.
This was horrible. This was the worst movie that I have seen in a very long time.
Oh.
The acting, the direction, the writing, everything was bad. Like bad. Chris Rock, you know what? He definitely paid for the role. Like he's definitely the producer. He bought his way into the room because he is awful. He's so bad. Everyone close to him is dying, and he's just like, and then moves on 1 second later. There's no moment of him actually responding to any of the deaths. The head captain at the beginning finds out that one of her own people is dead, and she goes, all right, guys, let's move on. We need to find out who did this, and doesn't react at all to someone being murdered. And the voice, Dylan, you were like, the voice is so good. I've heard it in the trailer. And then I went and saw it in the movie, and I said, this voice sounds terrible. It sounded like Carl from Jimmy Neutron. Turned down. It was bad. It was funny. I had a good time because it was so bad that I was just enjoying myself. And he's caught in the trap from the first movie where he's tied up, but this time it's his hand instead of his ankle. And there's just a bobby pin on the ground, and he's like, oh, okay, and gets himself out of it. It felt like a spoof. The whole thing felt like a spoof. And Samuel L. Jackson was there to do someone a favor, I think. He did not care.
No, he did not.
He did
Wow.
not be there.
Very hot take from Andrew. Kirby, how did you feel about Spiral from Booksell?
The only reason I wanted to see this movie was to see Chris Rock in a serious role, because he's hardly ever in a serious role. He's known for his comedy. I liked the role that he was in. I think it could have been way better. Like Andrew said, there was no points in it to where you felt emotionally attached with him or him with other people. He says like the lines in the movie. Yeah, he's going through a divorce. He's got like a kid, but you never feel that. You never get a chance saying, all right, damn, yeah, he's a detective that's going through a fucking divorce, and it must be hard on him. You don't feel that at all.
Yeah, she shows up for 2 seconds.
Yeah, and that's it. And there was no point of mentioning him having a divorce or going through one. And
I thought that at least he was going to be put in a trap or something.
Yeah, at least scare him saying that, oh yeah, no, we've got your kid, but don't really have your kid, just to
Oh my God, he had a
freak
kid.
him out or whatever.
I completely forgot they said.
Yeah, he had a kid. Yeah, you never
that
see
one
it.
part. And he was like, wow, you leave the kid with the neighbor, but not with his own father. And she's like, let's not do this now.
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
And then she's never seen again. Do you really want to do this right now? No. And then
That's
you never
it.
see her character ever again.
One of the only good things in this one was the trap at the end with Sammy J in it, where he's like a puppet and he's getting controlled by like a marionette kind of. But like the part of it that I liked, it was when he came down the first time, but when he started going back up and was starting to get controlled, and then like the pipe or whatever comes out the side of his arm, and then it acts like a gun, and he gets shot because the FBI is coming in and all that. I thought that was kind of cool.
I think Andrew hated that, didn't you?
I did. I hated it. I thought that look, if I'm coming in and I'm a cop and I know that there's a jigsaw killer copycat who puts people in traps, and I see a person in a trap, then I'm not going to go, oh, they're pointing a gun at me. He was so evidently hooked up in a trap, and I just didn't see why. It just felt like it was trying so hard to make a statement that it was unqualified to make, and also made terribly.
I didn't think it was, from my point of view, they walk in and they see Chris Rock on the ground with like blood all over him, his father's blood all over the floor. And then they walk in and they see Sam Jackson literally lift up a shotgun at them. It didn't make sense for me. Like the disconnection wasn't there for me to be like, oh, this wouldn't make sense. Like if you're SWAT and you know that there's a dangerous assailant, because remember what the dude on the phone call said was, holy shit, there's a dude in here with a gun. He's shooting everybody, right? And then he fired off rounds in the gun. So the cops know that there's a active live, an armed person shooting at people. So then they walk in, they see Chris Rock on the ground covered in blood, and they see a dude lift a gun at them. So then they shot him.
There was another thing that especially with this movie alone, and I know there was instances in the old Saw films as well, but they could have easily gotten out of the fucking traps in these films. Like the one in Spiral, the guy that was getting his fingers torn off, he was trapped in the pool of water. They never showed that he was actually trapped. He was just sitting in it. Like his feet weren't shackled down or anything. He had plenty of slack on the cables to where he could have gotten up on that table with the cables or just stepped the fuck out of it because it's a 4-foot wide goddamn pool.
That's actually an interesting, I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, and then another thing was with the chief detective or whatever, the captain, when she's getting like the wax poured over her or whatever it is, she's got plenty of room of wiggling around to where she could have just scooted her head to the side.
But Kirby, the blade was on her neck.
It wasn't trapped on her neck.
It was like a U. So every time she moved, it cut.
She still could have gone to the side and not gone back on her head, and the wax would have came probably scorched her ear off. Yeah, hurt like hell, still would have been alive.
Was that
Yes, no
wax or
forestry.
oil? Because it looked
No,
like
it was
hot
wax. They
oil.
said it was wax.
It looked like hot
Thank you.
oil.
No, because it was wax, and when Chris Rock came in, he was able to like peel it off her face.
Oh, that was
It-
awful, dude. Oh, that was hard to watch, man.
And
Oh, I
another
liked
thing,
that.
and another thing with Chris Rock was when he came in, he started like pounding on her fucking chest. Okay, she could have still been
That
alive.
horrible CPR. She just started
She
freaking
coulda-
out.
She still could have been alive, but pounding on her chest could have severed her fucking spinal column.
I like the part where she clearly has a blade right underneath her spinal column, and he
God.
goes boom, like slamming her onto the blade. Katie, what are your thoughts on Spiral from the Book of Saw?
I mean, it's about what I expected as far as most of these movies go. I have to agree with Andrew. The pig voice was really, really jarring.
Really, I
gotta
it.
say, the one like of I also like all of the traps. Like, at least in the past movies, they have traps where some people survive. I think they did a really good job of that in 7 too, where it's like at least he held up his promises. Like if like those people got to survive, they would live, right?
Yeah.
But in this one, every single person got this close, like 1% away from escaping, and then they died right as they like it happened every single time. So I was like, okay, I wanted a little variation there. The one thing that bothered me more than anything in this entire movie is when Chris Rock was like, this couldn't be Jigsaw. Jigsaw never killed cops. What?
I know.
I just
That's
watched
exactly what I said.
7 movies. 7 movies where he kills a cop every single movie. So that's absolute bullshit.
That's exactly what I said when he said that. When he was like, "Jigsaw does not target cops. Jigsaw doesn't target cops." I literally turned to who was sitting next to me, and I literally said, "Yes, he does," out loud in the theater. Like for 5 films, he directly targeted cops.
I said, I guess you don't know John Kramer like I do.
God.
They're not on the fan webpage from. Oh, you haven't seen Jigsaw. Never mind.
I also didn't understand like the part where like Chris Rock was interrogating the drug dealer and he just fucking like smashed a bottle on him and like for no reason. Like they didn't even try to interrogate him properly. He was just like, fuck you, and like started beating him. And I was like,
Super
wow, this is
illegal. Super
pretty on the head as far as police brutality goes, especially when Chris Rock was supposed to be one of the good guys. He just like wrecked this guy. And I was like, I don't want to root for you. You're like me.
I mean, they don't stray away from trying to say like police like are corrupt. Like they.
I know, but it was
the
hard for me to root for a
Metropolitan Police.
protagonist who didn't seem to have any emotional investment in his friends or the people he was trying to protect. So I was like, okay. I will say, like, also at the end, I wish there was a little bit more clarity on the traps. I understand, like, the choice was he can choose to save his father by shooting the target, but then the buddy will get away, like the new Jigsaw will get away or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But the whole thing is he was like, I need you to prove my trust to you. So how is choosing to save his father proving his trust? Would he have rather him get shot? I was just like, I wish that was more clear. I was like, that was weird for me.
Because he's choosing. Well, the way I saw it is because he was choosing to keep the Jigsaw killer, quote unquote, the Spiral killer or whatever they're calling him, alive and save his corrupt father. So it's like an agreement that you're going to work for me and with me rather than like killing me.
Yeah.
But then that's when he goes back on it at the end when his father gets down and his father's like, go after him, chase after him. And then that's when everything goes to shit. So like
it was a little sus. I don't know why he thought that Chris Rock would be his like partner after just like blatantly killing his father and losing his trust. But I mean, it's whatever. They definitely left it open for a sequel at the end. I mean, they did no boom 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 boom, and then it's like everything was building, and then Chris Rock was like, no, and then they were like directed by.
Yeah, no,
So, like,
I think the whole point is that if Chris Rock had been there, like when they were cutting open the door, it would have been like instead of chasing after Jigsaw, he would have saved his father. That makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Because
That
if
makes
he
a
had
little
been
more
there
sense.
while they were cutting open the door and he'd been like, listen, you're cutting the trap, right?
Yeah.
Then they wouldn't have just fucking opened arms on Samuel
Yeah.
Jackson.
But also, like, this police department had no communication with each other. None of them trusted each other. So like, I don't know how they expected to like solve a case and work together, specifically where they were being targeted, when none of them trust each other. They're all going behind each other's backs the whole time. And what is it? Like the second or third guy, he was like, yeah, I'll just do this on my own. And I'm like, yeah, good idea. A killer targeting cops. Why don't you go do this on your own in a dark, unfamiliar place?
So did you like it overall, Katie? Because you have a lot of slander.
I know it's a lot of slander. I enjoyed watching it as like, it's not, I still prefer like 6 and 7 because I feel like I could count on like, there were like 4 traps before the final sequence, right? And I was like, I want more traps because that's the reason I watched these.
Exactly. It's
Like that's why I liked 6 and 7 so much, because it was just like trap, okay, trap. But this one really did feel, like Andrew said earlier, it felt like a police drama. It felt like they were doing like one really juicy episode of Law and Order, and which is fine, but that's just not the genre I wanted to see when I went to see this movie.
Yeah, you're right. They were going for more like a character piece.
They were like, here's Chris Rock going through something hard. Also, it's themes of a movie you may have seen before. I guess I liked it for what they were trying to do, but I wish what they were trying to do was more aligned with something gorier and a little bit faster paced and something that took itself a little less seriously.
So, yeah, as a recent like Saw fan, like the traps, I feel that the traps are good, but they're like a step down in a way. Does that make sense? Like I don't know. I feel like they're too. So typically in a Saw film, you cut in between the trap and the actual plot, right? Like so you have the plot that's filled with mystery, and then you have your traps where you get your gore and somebody going through excruciating things. Well, this one didn't have someone going through excruciating things. It just had like the trap, somebody dying, and then we go back to the main plot, right? And how that trap affected the main plot. So it's not like 2 congruent plot lines that meet at the end. It's more or less like one trap that affects the main plot line, and then the story ends, if that makes sense.
Also, I know Kirby already brought it up, but like I would be amiss if I didn't say the second cop who died, I'm sorry, they're fucking Chinese finger traps. Are you 4 years old? You push forward to release and then you move out. Like, what the fuck?
That was another thing I was going to talk about was, all right, yeah, they're Chinese finger traps, but they're steel cable, but I'm pretty sure they would just slide off. It wouldn't have enough tension to...
I felt like I was at 4 years old. I was like 4 years old. I was at Chuck E. Cheese and I was like, it won't work. And my mom was like, just push them together. And I was just like screaming at the screen. I'm like, you're such a dumbass.
That being said, though, when they did use the traps, like they had an essence of, I don't know, maybe it was because I was starting to go like tone deaf to the violence as I was like watching them back to back. But a lot of the Saw traps in the later films, I was just kind of like didn't really like feel the pain as I was watching it. You know how you have like that guttural feeling of like, oh shit, like I really wouldn't want to go through this.
Yeah.
However, I think they captured that well in this movie. Like when his fingers are being ripped off, that shit is so hard to watch. Like you seeing like his skin pull off. Do you disagree, Andrew, or would you agree?
No, I agree. I think that worked well. I think the traps were really boring. But like the one that worked the best for me was when he was standing in the middle of the subway and he was being held up by his tongue on a ladder.
Yeah.
That one worked well for me. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I think that's just the advances in horror that have happened over the past few years, that they've just gotten better at being able to show violence.
They start strong like that. That's a good point. The first trap I think is one of the better ones in the movie. Like where he's like, you have to use your own weight to rip your own tongue off, and he had enough time to get out of that trap.
With that trap, yeah, so I'm the same with it. It was one of those kind of gross moments. Like, all right, yeah, that was pretty bad. But all right, say he did rip his own tongue off in that train tunnel. Where the fuck would he have gone to got away from that train to not get hit by it?
There was no
space
on the sides, right?
There was not space on the sides. it was a tunnel with, all right, yeah, there might have been pipes sticking out here or there, but not enough for the human body
He could have laid
to
down
stand.
like between the tracks.
No,
He would flatten himself underneath it.
no, no, but there's so many problems with this film. So many problems.
And I think, like Andrew was talking about with like how they've advanced horror, like as a whole, like I think the jump scares are much better in this film than they ever have been. I really do. Like in the Saw films, not as like a horror in the horror genre as a whole, but like as far as in the Saw film goes, I feel like there was one jump scare in Saw 1 where like the dude is like with the camera like flashing around his house. And that's like a pretty good jump scare. But the one where Chris Rock is walking out of the church and he goes around the door and then the dude like gets him, that caught me so off guard. I was not expecting that shit at all. Like that one actually made me jump in the theater. Would you guys disagree?
No, I would say that was the only jump scare that got me in the movie, and I would say this one's not this Saw film isn't a horror movie. I would say it's a thriller.
I would agree with that.
And suspense filled movie more than like the past Saw films where they were mostly horror.
Yeah. I think as us, if you are someone who enjoys Saw films, if you're someone who likes Saw films, then you will walk away from this movie thinking, I'm okay to see what's next. It wasn't the best in the franchise, but it also wasn't the worst. If that makes sense. So you walk away thinking, okay, I liked it. Yeah, it was a fun time, but it wasn't like crazy good, right? But I think if you're a normal audience goer who hasn't seen any Saw films and like doesn't avidly watch them, you will flat out dislike this movie. And I think that's apparent because the way that Saw films end, you know that they're going to end without like a resolution. You know that they're going to end on like this weird, awkward cliffhanger that sets up the next film. And I know when me and Andrew went and saw it, we brought a friend with us, and he walked out of the theater and was going, "What the fuck was that ending?" Like he literally asked, he goes, "That was a horrible ending." And then he started laughing at the end of it because he like was in disbelief of what was happening. Would you agree, Andrew? Or do you think it's just a bad movie even for Saw fans?
I think it's bad even for Saw fans. It's bad. Another issue that I have is just that normally in a Saw movie, nobody feels safe. Everyone at any moment could potentially die, and you don't really know.
Yeah.
This movie, I knew Chris Rock was always safe. Even when he was chained up, he was still safe. They gave him an out. Instead of forcing him to cut off his hand, they let him pick up a bobby pin and undo the handcuffs. Like it's like it just nothing felt dispensable. It felt like, as I told you when we were walking out of the theater, it felt like a character film. It didn't feel like a Saw movie. Like it felt like I was following a detective, not like I was following a serial killer.
That's a good point because so in each Saw film, you feel as though that the main character, or at least the character that we're following, at least for a portion of the story, has to learn something from Spiral's like trap or Jigsaw's traps, right? In this one, Chris Rock didn't necessarily have to learn anything because he was the cop who technically did the right thing, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So at the end, when he doesn't have anything to learn and the dude, the murderer or, Spiral or whatever, tells him, hey, actually, Loki, I want to work with you. I wasn't putting you through the tests. I feel like there's a disconnect there because usually Jigsaw's victims are the ones who have to learn something, and we're watching that character try and learn something, if that makes sense.
But this is like playwriting 101 stuff where nobody wants to watch a movie about a character who doesn't experience any form of change. Like we don't want to see a perfect character live in a room. I was talking to this friend about this last night, and he said it felt like The Room, where it was like, oh, there's this perfect man, and everyone's like, you're so perfect, and I hate you for being perfect. Where it was like, I want to see a main character that learns something. I want to see Chris Rock put through tests. I want to see him be a bad cop like he was, and then I want to see him become a good cop, not just be a perfect cop throughout the whole thing, never learn anything.
And I thought that they were going to go that way too because he clearly has teamwork issues. Do you know what I'm saying? but they
Mhm.
don't explore that. There's no trap where he has to like work together with someone. Would you agree,
Mhm.
Katie?
Yeah, well, I also would say that he's not the perfect cop because clearly at the end he chose his alliances over the law. You know what I mean? Like he chose to save his loved ones even if his loved ones were corrupt, and he chose to protect his lying friends as opposed to actually serving justice. So I wouldn't say he was a perfect cop.
I don't think he's a perfect cop by any means, but I don't think that he had like none of the
He
traps
wasn't
make him
pushed to
learn.
change though at any point,
Yeah, no,
Nobody
none of the,
they were
that's what I'm
like,
saying is
we need
nobody
to give you a
questions
partner.
nobody
We
questions
need to
it.
see where you move forward from this. But the partner also didn't like, how was him training somebody gonna, you know what I mean? Like how was
Yeah.
that gonna move him forward? Also, it's like all the traps he tried, but he clearly there was no person in which he cared more about their life than his own life, because he was like, he could have gone in with like the key and saved his with the glass incinerator. He
Mhm.
could have saved that guy, but he was like, glass sharp, don't want to get hurt.
And then he
I'm just
just
gonna wait
fucking
until
gets
it powers
annihilated
down.
by it anyway.
Also, another issue I have with that specific scene is that later in the movie, the killer tells him, "Oh, you failed that test because you tried to save him." Is that not the responsibility of him as a cop? Like, if he's a good cop, he's supposed to save everyone, not the people he likes.
I think he was trying to say that because he was like Jigsaw wants him to commit to killing corrupt cops, and so or not Jigsaw. What do we call? Is he Spiral? I guess.
Yeah,
Spiral
I
Boy.
would call him Spiral.
I
Which
don't remember his name
I
at
liked
all.
his moniker. I know you guys at least the consistent consensus around me seems that they didn't like the "Good morning, Detective Banks," but I really liked it. I thought it was fun, and I liked the puppet. Like I liked the puppet more than I liked the other.
I
The
would have
puppet was
preferred if
stupid.
Fran Drescher was the voice of the thing. Like,
I just thought I think the only issue that I have with the voice is that I wish it was a little deeper. Like I wish it was a little more or a little more distorted, just so it doesn't sound like someone talking like this. You know what I'm saying?
To where they don't sound like Kermit the fucking Frog.
it's like, hi,
Was
Detective
it?
Banks.
Whose voice was it?
I think it was him, just just distorted. It sounded like a distorted like woman's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, wait, how did he get the shot of the pig marionette in front of the car without casting his shadow in the shot?
He was under the bridge. There's no shadows.
It was sunny out.
The sun's from this way. The sun's from this
I
way.
don't know, but like, did he just like have to like hold it over the camera and like press record with his foot? I can just like, he probably looked like so stupid.
What about you, Kirby? Did you like the voice? What did you think about? Do you think you kind of agree with our complaints?
That was, I mean, that was one of the things I didn't care about, that I didn't really think about during the entire movie, because I was focusing on all the other problems with the movie. So I don't know. I guess I'm okay with the voice just because I didn't really think about it or have a problem with it.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I like the original voice better, to where it was like dark, distorted, and low, and uh grimy. It had like a grimy feel. This one felt like it was just it felt like it was a copycat and didn't try to um I don't know, like, I guess reincarnate the original Jigsaw,
Mhm.
But I overall, I guess I just didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah. We'll try and move into something a little more positive. Would you say that you had a favorite part in any, like one standout moment, or if you really can't find one, maybe one one moment that stood out because for other reasons doesn't always
I
happen?
I didn't. I think it was a little lighthearted at times where they tried to introduce humorous banter between Sam Jackson and Chris Rock. I mean, I've never been upset when I've heard Sam Jackson say motherfucker. Like that's just always a positive experience for me. So that was happy.
When he walks into Seals' spirals and it's like, do you want to play a game? And he's like, you want to play a game, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was fun. Too.
I liked the playful banter. I enjoyed the final sequence. I really liked seeing Sam Jackson in a Saw trap, like as what I would consider myself also a new Saw fan. I enjoyed seeing Samuel L. Jackson in a Saw trap. That was very exciting to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it. I think I think they tried to do too much. I think they tried to take it too seriously. But I did, I enjoyed that they introduced this, and I think from here there's places to go. So I'm excited about that.
What about you, Kirby? What would you have a favorite standout moment? I know you didn't like it overall, so maybe you might be easier for you to do least favorite.
I mean, two things that I liked about it was Chris Rock's car. I liked his car a lot. I guess the only other thing is kind of young Sam Jackson, where he's bald and has a mustache. I thought he looks kind of badass like
Andrew
that.
hated that. Andrew.
I mean, it did look a little cheesy because you could tell it's a wig cap that he's, or no, that's not even a wig cap. I don't know. It's just his bald head from like his younger self looks off compared to his bald self with his older self. You know, it just it looks. I don't know why it looks kind of like Henry Cavill's mustache in Justice League.
Yeah, oh.
kind of like that.
I think they just put makeup all over his head, so you.
I don't know. It just seemed off a little bit, but I guess those were the 2 points or the two things that I.
Yeah. What about
liked
you?
About it was the car.
Do you think it's going to be easier for you to do least favorite?
No, I can definitely do favorite.
You liked that mustache, didn't you? You liked his mustache a lot.
Okay, that I did not like. It just looked bad. It just did not look real at all. It
Chris
just felt
Rock,
like
I don't know.
His mustache looked pretty hurty to me.
Nothing changed
Pretty
about
hurty.
them at all, except
Pretty
they put like really bad fake facial hair on them, and I thought it was really funny. My favorite part of the movie was any moment where Chris Rock was allowed to be Chris Rock and be like whenever he's pretending to be a meth head trying to get into the dealer's house. That was a fun moment. The beginning, whenever he's like holding people up and like cracking jokes and being personable, those are moments that worked for me. The only thing that, I mean, the movie didn't work whenever he was trying to play serious and he had to mourn 7 different deaths throughout the movie, and they just, I guess, cut out any moment where he was actually reacting in order to speed up the tempo of the movie.
Yeah.
But yes, my favorite moments were Chris Rock, and my least favorite moments were Chris Rock.
Sounds solid.
If I had to pick a favorite moment, I would say probably I really like the tongue trap, and I like the nature of the progression of like how Spiral is different from Saw. I thought it was interesting to see like how, Jigsaw just uses the tape recorders, but Spiral is going to use like the USB drives. That makes sense. Like his technology has gone forward. I liked that progression because in the Saw film, since like 9 of them all take place at the same time, you can't really. There's no advancement in like technology. You don't see, besides like just his engineering, you don't see like, oh, now they're using like iPhones and now they're using this and that. But I really liked that he had more innovative ways to like basically go through his plan because of the advances in technology. And I don't think we'd really seen it. We kind of see it in Jigsaw at the end. I won't spoil it for Katie, but I don't know. It just, I really liked that. And I also like Andrew said, I like the moments where Chris Pratt, oh my God, Chris Rock, where Chris Pratt, I like the moments where Chris Rock was like, Chris Rock was just being personable and like, and the beginning was, I thought the beginning was good, especially where you think, I thought he was actually like one of the people in the gang. And so when he got caught and they were like, oh, you're undercover and you didn't tell anybody, I was like, oh shit, I thought this was how it was genuinely starting out. So he played me as well as them. What do you guys think do you think there's going to be a sequel? What do you guys think is next?
I think there should be a sequel starring Chris Pratt.
Yes, you said that, and I was picturing Chris Pratt doing some of Chris Rock's comedy, just some of his jokes, and I kind of want to see that now. I want to see Chris Pratt doing some Chris Rock.
He'd be like, another one died, and he'd be like, what? No way.
What do you guys think? Do you think there will be a sequel?
For sure.
Really?
Should there be? I don't know, but I think they definitely left it open like they do the end of every Saw movie. So
Yeah.
I think they definitely want there to be a sequel. I mean, they'll make if they make a sequel, I'll go see it. You know what I mean? So they're not going to lose money on that investment.
I think that it needs to be a little better.
Oh, I want it to be better, just to clarify.
I mean,
I like
it's not.
this one, but I think if they're gonna do a sequel, they need to I like group traps more than I like individual traps, and maybe that's my main problem.
No, simplicity, man. Simplicity. You give me two guys trapped in a base room, chained to some pipes, and one saw. That's where it's at. That's the prime trap right there.
But isn't it more interesting to see a character study on like how five different like character archetypes would try and survive in a room?
No, because they're dumb as shit.
Well, not all of them are dumb as shit. That's what makes it fun.
Okay.
What do you think, Kirby? You think there's a sequel or no sequel? What do you got?
I think they're gonna make a sequel. They're gonna milk this thing for all it's worth. I think Chris Rock's gonna die sometime, and then they're gonna bring in someone else and replace him and create more fucking Spiral movies and have an entire thing like the Saw franchise did. And it's just they need to come up with something original. They just need to do something else.
I'm just curious to see. We'll see what happens over the next coming days. I'm curious to see if it even is going to make enough money to like award a sequel.
I will admit, whenever I went and saw it last night, I saw it in IMAX, and
Me too.
there was 4-5 groups of people of that like in the theater that's supposed to seat, say 400 people, something like that. There was only about 20.
I mean, the Saw films have always been like admirable in that respect. Like it's usually a 10 to 20 million dollar budget, and then they make about 150 to 100 mil, which is like honestly the way that the movie industry should like be making films. But I don't know if it's gonna be received that well by people who are just normal audience goers and not like hardcore Saw fans or whatever. So I don't know. I do want a sequel. I just hope that the box office like makes enough. What do you think, Andrew? Do you think sequel? No sequel?
I'm still not convinced that hardcore Saw fans will like this movie. I don't think it appeals to them either, because it's not. Hardcore Saw fans love the movie for being super. They love the grittiness. They love the amount of traps that there are, and this movie doesn't really get any of that. It's not gritty. It's like a weird horror comedy, and it only has like 3 traps throughout the entire movie, and they're not interesting. I also don't think it'll. The rating gone down. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, I updated the Rotten Tomatoes page this morning. The ratings have gone down a lot. I don't think it'll get a sequel. I think if there's a sequel to the Saw franchise, it won't be in the Spiral universe. I think it'll be in the original one, following the storyline of Jigsaw and all of that. I don't know if it'll be a Spiral.
Yeah.
I know they're the same universe, but they don't feel like it to me. They have such completely different tones.
Let me see. What is the Rotten Tomatoes sitting at right now?
38.
Wait, no,
Percent.
that's critic.
39,
That's critically. That's critically. What's audience?
76% for audience.
That means majority of people
But-
like it, man. That means almost 80% of viewers who go and see it like it. I that's what I'm saying, is I don't know if I agree with
Out
you.
of 250 reviews,
350 reviews is more than the critic score, right?
250 reviews. There's 140 critics and 250 audiences. But I feel like 250 reviews is not good. Like, nobody's seeing it.
Yeah,
Well, it's also only been out for like 24 hours.
yeah, that's true. But my thing with it is like the 200 the marketing for this, the first trailer I thought was really, really good. Like and then the second trailer I thought was less good, and that second trailer is the most recent one. And since we had like our year gap, that first trailer came out so long ago that the second one I think is the new take. You know what I'm saying? So I'm worried that the trailer wasn't good enough to like pull them into the audience, but we'll see what happens. So you guys so Andrew, you don't think a sequel. Kirby, you are kind of iffy on it, and Katie, yes.
I think there will be, but I don't want there to be.
So Kirby thinks yes, but he doesn't want it. Katie thinks yes, and I think yes. So interesting. What do you think the next story possibilities? Do you think we'll keep with Chris Rock, or do you think in the Saw vein we'll just start over with a completely new detective?
I think if they're going to try to keep Chris Rock as long as they can.
Chris Rock is the producer, so I mean, if he's gonna make another one, he's sure as well gonna star in it.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think, Andrew? He'll stay the star?
Yeah, I mean, I would guess so. I don't see it being successful without him continuing Spiral at least. Like, I don't see trying to replace him being a viable option.
Unless he gets another partner, and the partner is
So-
Rami Malek. You know what I mean? Like,
Andrew, I have a question for you. As someone who really didn't like it, maybe Kirby, this goes for you too. Would you be interested in a sequel that is like if you get a sequel and it's up to snuff, in your opinion, like it is like a better movie, would you be okay with it, or do you still think, or are you interested in seeing the Spiral like legacy continue, or are you just like this first one was such a dud that you have no interest at all?
So this first one for me was so bad that it was funny, and I think in any sequel they would try to make it more serious because they would think that it failed to be serious in the first one, and it would then become boring. So no, I'm not interested at all in seeing a sequel.
You kind
No,
of agree,
I'm not
Kirby?
either.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm tired of the overcomplicated traps and gore fest fucking movies. It's tiring. It was cool back whenever it first started coming out in the 2000s, but now it's just a do something new. Get a better idea.
Interesting. Okay, well, I think that's gonna do it for our show, guys. Kirby, where can people reach out and find you on Instagram and Facebook?
We're gonna do this.
I guess we'll give it a shot. Go ahead.
Oh,
Say
God.
what you're always gonna say, Kirby. Go ahead.
Just look up my name. You'll
No,
find.
look at my name. Whatever.
fucking-
Fucking Katie, where can people find you on Facebook and Instagram?
if you wanna reach out to me or follow me or something, which whatever, I'm Real Slim Katie 25 on TikTok and Instagram.
Very subtle. Andrew, where can people find you on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, whatever?
I'm on TikTok at the spooky with a Y roomies ROOMIES.
All right, and that will conclude our show. If you guys enjoyed this, please be sure to subscribe and leave a like, and then add me on Instagram at Dylan Reviews if you feel like it. We're all appreciative of you listening and hope to have you back when we talk about Cruella and A Quiet Place Part 2 next week. Like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.